Our story begins in the 13 colonies with the forming of the United States. The mechanism was already in place to bring forward the deceit of lies that have plagued man since the beginning. The illumined ones chose May 1st, 1776, as their day of birth in the United States of America. This statement was made in 1782. This nation that is now being formed, 200 years from now, will bring in the one world government, and the seat will be England. The very men who are given credit for the founding documents, in a large part, not all, sent here by King George through loans from him, or simply with the intent to once again let men think they were free, when in reality the country was already being prepared for subjection by the state. All but 6 of the signers of the Declaration of Independence were dragged from their homes in the middle of the night and brutally murdered. Such is the price of freedom. What we know as the Constitution was written and presented to the colonies as a declaration. A declaration cannot be amended. The British accredited Regency, the Bar, located in New York, changed it into a constitution, much like the books of the Bible were changed into chapters and verses. It makes it easy to argue and change or amend. The people were taught to change it from the Constitution back into the Declaration and vice versa. There were 18 copies of the original, but as each were located in the archives of law libraries, the libraries were burned to the ground. The practice of converting and reconverting continued through the Civil War, and then stopped. In 1871, the DC Corporation was formed outside the Constitution and put into operation. Then through the money manipulation in the early 1900s, and especially 1913 with the passage of the Federal Reserve Bank Act, a private banking system, which created a central bank for the nation, these men worked their behind-the-scenes trickery, the Wizard of Oz, the 1929 crash of the stock market by draining the money out of the system, and the subsequent Great Depression. With the election of Franklin Delano Roosevelt March 9, 1933, the Trading with the Enemies Act, part of this deceit of lies, came into being. When the government took all of the gold from the people and made it a crime to own or hoard gold, the people of the United States of America lost their money, their ability to pay a debt, and they lost their law, for it is with the ability of people to pay their debts with money that their power to establish laws comes from. He who owns the gold rules and establishes the law. At the same time, the government declared all property in the United States as belonging to the government and was to be used for the good of the government. Long before the United States of America was formed, a conspiracy of slavery has always been forced upon men by other men, thinking that they can live and tell other people how to live, when they cannot even live their lives in freedom. For with the subjection of others to slavery, the slave master becomes the slave to the very people they enslave. The object is power through money and illusion. If everyone works and pays another, who does not work, part of what they earn through taxation, the slave master becomes very rich in power and money. An illusion. All people come into this world with nothing, and they leave with nothing. Man was made to be free, subject only to his Creator and the rights of all men on this earth. To restrict the rights of another restricts the rights you have. Give total freedom to others in your actions toward them, and you in turn enjoy freedom as it was given to each of us. When we are critical of others in the way they are living, we are in bondage to that person. Any act done to another person or their property restricts your rights by restricting your peace and joy on this earth. In 1871, the federal government formed itself into a corporation and pulled itself from under the Constitution. In 1913, the Federal Reserve central banks were created. In 1933, President Roosevelt put into effect the Trading with the Enemies Act. This applied only for federal citizens. In 1933, President Roosevelt took the gold away from the people, although they were not required for giving it away, thereby leaving the people without money for paying debts with. In 1933, President Roosevelt passed H.J.R. 192 on June 5, 1933. Simply put, since the government had taken the gold, the people had no money. The government would pay the debts for the people, dollar for dollar, thereby giving the people unlimited credit. In 1938, Erie Railroad versus Tompkins made contracts the rule in our courts. In 1946, we lost our government and courts through the Administrative Procedures Act. In 1965, silver was taken away as a means for paying debt. The UCC became the supreme law for America concerning the banking system. The courts were pulled together in administrative admiralty and civil, contract or commerce corporation, and the act and intent were brought together, thereby taking away your plea of innocent. You had to prove there was no intent. Guilty until proven innocent, changing the often quoted, "You are innocent until proven guilty."